kidney health today. And you can do this when you're feeling like maybe when your pee is dark, or if you had like a big night of drinking, you can do this the next day because it's not a very vigorous practice. And the kidneys are on either side of the spine, right below the ribs. So we're going to work on detoxifying and working postures that enrich and are good for the kidneys. So you actually do need props today. You can use a strap or a belt, or if you don't have one that is pretty long, like more than the length of like one shoulder to the hand, you can use a scarf or something and tie it off. And then we're going to use bolsters too. And so you can use a bolster if you have one, which I doubt you do, or you can use a couple pillows or a firm pillow, or you can roll a blanket up like a hot dog and use that. So you can pause and go get those things, and then we'll begin. So you can find your props. We're going to start with the props today, starting on our back. And you can use legs up the wall for this, or if you don't really have space in your house, you can do it on the couch like I am. So if you want more of a hamstring stretch, use a wall, and if not, you can let your legs flop over the side of your couch. And you're going to take your bolster or pillows or blanket around the middle of your back so that the hips stay down and the head touches something. So if your head doesn't touch anything, if it's lifted up, place a blanket or your hands under your head. But in this pose, we want both the hips down and the head down, arms relaxed over your head, legs up the wall. Letting the bolster or pillows provide a natural arch here for your back. Inhaling and exhaling, connecting here. Starting to become present in this moment, in this posture. Notice where you might feel tight and where you can let go. Let your arms be heavy and your hips be heavy and your legs be heavy, whether they're straight up the wall or over your couch. Let your thighs be resting and feet resting. Let between your eyebrows relax and separate. Allow the bolster pillows to provide this natural arch, this natural pressure on the kidneys, lifting the ribs and the heart up towards the ceiling. Start to breathe into your belly. Breathing in and out through your nose, letting your belly fill up and relax back down. Letting this be your first posture, so settling in over time, over your breaths. As we connect to our breath, we can notice what happens when we inhale and exhale. Maybe you feel a little more energized and full on your inhales and exhales, trying to let your body relax here, resting back. Letting your throat be open, letting the central line of your body be relaxed, your third eye, throat center, heart center, navel center. Let these areas release here. And take 5 more breaths. If you wish, you can start to Ujjayi breath. Start to release this pose. Maybe releasing your arms first and lifting your head slowly. Enough so that you can release the bolster. So push the bolster out to the side. We'll need it in future asanas, so you can lay back down and bring your arms to a T, so in line with your shoulders, arms extended, knees over to the left. Push gently down into your left hand and start to turn your head up towards the ceiling, or turn your head over to the right, twisting. Breathe deeply here into the right ribs. The right ribs puff up as you inhale. And exhale, maybe push into your left hand a little more to twist a little bit deeper. Putting a little pressure on the kidneys. Inhaling into the ribs. Exhale, twisting. Take 5 more breaths here. Being careful of your neck, for it is the most flexible part of the spine. So if this doesn't feel good to look at your right hand, look at the ceiling. Same goes for the other side. And take 1 more breath. Exhale fully. Inhale, center. And exhale to the other side. Arms staying extended. Now the knees are over to the left, and the knees can be up a little bit more towards the armpit, the right armpit. Arms extended, and choose a posture for your neck that feels good. Inhale, breathing in between the left ribs, the intercostal muscles. Exhale, right hand pushes, relaxing the left ribs towards the mat. Take a few more deep inhales. Take 5 more breaths here. Exhale fully. Inhale, roll completely onto the right side and sit yourself upright. Coming onto the bolster again, or at least propping yourself up somehow. So sit up high and let your knees come to the mat. So maybe separate your knees more so that the feet are more in line. And we're going to either place your hands onto the bolster or pillow and lift your chest, or if they reach the mat, you can press up through center, opening the chest, and the neck follows the spine. So if you have any tension here, keep your chin towards your chest, or you can slowly let it open. But maybe in this first one, go gently and focus more on the shoulder blades coming together, pushing the ribs forward, than anything happening in the neck. Take 3 breaths. And come upright. Hands to the knees, and you can come off the pillow now, sliding it back, and start to make circles here, leaning forward, rounding back, leaning forward, rounding back, in a circular motion. And switching directions. Use your hands, maybe even here, pulling against your shins when you lean forward, and resisting as you lean back so that you don't fall. Come upright, come onto hands and knees. Spread your fingers so that the shoulders are over the wrists and hips are over the knees. Start to connect to your breath and movement. Flow here. Inhaling and exhaling, coming in and out of cat and cow pose. Completely connected to your breath without pause. Feeling this rounding in your back as you exhale and inhale, relaxing your belly, pushing into your hands so that the throat opens and the chest opens. Come to stillness and walk your hands forward for puppy dog pose. So you can walk your hands forward so the hips are still over the knees and rest your head. Or you can rest your forehead or your chin. And if you want a little bit more, you can place the bolster at the top of your mat and place your hands up on it so that you can let your chest open. You can let the energy lines in your armpits open too. This is an area that's probably really tight considering you work at a desk all day. Push into your hands, come up enough to slide your hips forward and come into Sphinx pose, lowering your hips and lowering your elbows. Shoulders directly over your elbows, drawing yourself forward and feeling not that your low back is crunching, but that the low ribs are gently creating pressure in your kidneys, even if it's just your imagination. If you can't really feel it, think about this motion coming more from the middle back than the low back. So think about yourself pulling out of the hips, elongating your spine forward and up. Inhale, exhale, lower down, hands under the shoulders. Come into cobra pose, in and out with the breath. Inhale, push into your hands, elbows soft so that the collarbone stays wide. And as you exhale, imagine reaching your chest more forward. Inhale, uncurl yourself, rolling the spine up, eventually maybe lifting your chin. And as you exhale, pull yourself forward as you lower down, touching your forehead down. Do that 3 more times. Inhale, exhale, lengthen. Inhale, roll up, activate the legs and glutes a little bit to protect the low back. Not too much tension there. Lower down. Take 1 more. Inhale. Exhale. Tuck your toes under. Come into downward facing dog. Do whatever feels good here over the first 3 to 5 breaths. And I'm going to do this pose from the side if you want to look. We don't want sway back in the pose, which is hard to see on yourself, but when you're in the pose, you don't want to be with your head and back like how mine is, right? We want to be pushing into the hands so that we can create the same line with our arms and our spine. So even pulling your navel in a little bit and imagining the kidneys again, that the kidneys are puffing up into the sky. And that doesn't mean rounding in your shoulders too. Keep your shoulders and arms straight and think about navel in, kidneys up and back. Take a couple more breaths in downward facing dog. Ujjayi breath if you like. Step your right foot forward and come to a low lunge. Lower your left knee. Pad the mat if you need. And either take cactus with your hands or interlace your fingers. But find that same motion that we did in cobra pose where the low ribs are gently pushing into the kidneys. The center of your chest is not only reaching forward, but reaching up. Push into your right foot, lift your chest. And reach your arms up. And come into a twist. Either left hand down, twisting, right hand up, Or you can cross deeper with the left elbow outside the right thigh. Elbows stacked, twisting here. And if you want to, over time, or even this time, if it feels good, you can lift the back knee. Inhale. Exhale, release to downward facing dog. You can take a vinyasa or you can go directly to downward facing dog. Find that same space in your armpits and your hips and your kidneys. And step forward with the left foot, right knee down, hands to hips. And take your arm variation, opening, squeezing the shoulder blades together in cactus, or opening up the whole shoulder well, reaching your knuckles towards your back knee, but not crunching in your low back. Push into the left foot to find a little more lift, reach the center of your heart up, reach the top of your head up. Arms reach up and take your twist. Right hand down and twisting, left arm up, or twist deeper. Right hand outside the left leg, pushing down. And think about your right ribs turning. Think about the whole spine, low back, middle back, upper back twisting. If you want to, if you did so on the other side, you can lift your back knee, but that can come with time when you feel balanced. And go ahead and release your hands, come to downward facing dog. You can breathe out the mouth anytime you wish. You can add in the vinyasa. Whatever feels best for you. Puffing up the kidneys and down dog. And lower onto your knees. And come upright for camel pose. So in camel pose also, you can squeeze something between your legs, or at least you want one fist distance between the legs. And in this pose, we'll do it from the side, taking your hands, fingers facing down to kind of the top of your sacrum, your back, and push your hips back and wide, and then squeeze your butt and lift your chest. And we're not trying to back bend like this. We're trying to lift the chest and push the hips forward. Squeezing your elbows, making space for the center of your chest. Chin towards the chest or back completely. Come upright and sit onto your heels. Slowly open your palms, especially if you feel dizzy, take this pose. Sitting on the heels, opening the palms. Ujjayi breath. Slowly come upright onto your knees and take it again. And I'm going to demonstrate deeper expressions of the pose, and when you start to do these more regularly, if it feels good, you can do these variations. So still coming into the pose the same, hips back and apart, and then pushing them forward and squeezing your glutes to lift your chest, side body long, squeeze your elbows together. Stay in camel pose, or you can take the heel variation with your toes tucked under. And we're not trying to get the heels, we're trying to deepen the back bend. So imagine if you fell out of the pose that you'd fall forward. Any tumbling out of the pose is a forward motion, so we're not sinking back. Chin towards chest or open. And slowly bring your hands to your hips, pull your navel in to come upright, and we'll counter pose in child's pose. Separate your knees to the edges of your mat and sink back. Forehead resting. And if you want to, you can take your bolster or your pillow and put it on your low back to help relax the low back some more. So you can kind of move yourself into child's pose with weight on your hips to let yourself relax a little bit more. Like an adjustment if you don't have a teacher. And if this feels really good for you, you can pause the video for up to 10 minutes and continue in child's pose like this. Five breaths. And gently you come upright and we'll come to seated. Release the bolster. And we're going to use the strap now, and I'll show this pose from the side. So this takes a bit of getting into, and so we want the strap around the kidneys. So finding that place where your ribs end and that tiny bit of space there, and bring the strap there. And we're going to come into Navasana boat pose using the strap and helping to open up the kidneys here. So you can find, might take some pausing and some readjusting here, but finding space so that you can place your feet into the strap. And so for me, I have pretty loose hamstrings, so I can take it pretty short, the strap, yeah? And so I'll show a modification. So you want it right under the ribs so that it kind of pushes your ribs forward and puts pressure on the kidneys. And so in this pose, you can do a number of things. You can stay with one foot down, one leg extended, fingers in spider behind you, and push down and kick the strap forward to put pressure right below the ribs. And we'll do this for 10 breaths. So you can do 5 breaths on one side, 5 breaths on the other, or 10 breaths with both feet in. So that's a little too tight for both. So I can release it. And I trust that you're doing this because it can be, this posture is hard for the abdominals, hard for balance too. So you can take both feet in and find a balancing pose, but maybe that's not in your practice yet. Both hands can be behind you, kick your feet forward, let the strap pull the low back, the middle back forward, excuse me. And so you can do one foot at a time, both at the same time, hands on the mat, or finding some sort of balance here. Take 3 more breaths. And go ahead and release, and feel that nice release of the pressure on the middle back. Sit forward, come into Janu-Sirsasana. So your right leg is extended and your left foot is in tree pose, left foot into the inner thigh. Lift your arms and turn your chest towards your extended leg. Fold at your hips and reach forward, either grabbing your calf, ankle, or foot. And on a breath in, come upright and bring your left foot to the ground. Make space so there's space between your foot and your leg, and hug your knee in, lift your chest. Lift your arms up and either fold forward onto the calf, ankle, foot, and maybe eventually turning your thumbs down, lowering your chest, reach behind the back and interlace your fingers. And then squeeze your left knee in towards the armpit. So you can also use the strap in your hands if you want this variation. Flex your right foot. Fold forward. And come upright, release, and switch your sides. Bring the right foot in for Janu Sirsasana. And lift your arms and then turn your chest towards the left leg and fold forward. A very gentle twist, but imagine the same sort of breathing into the kidney. So as you breathe in, feel the middle back puff back. And exhale, releasing the right hip, release the left hamstring. And come upright and place your right foot at least 1 fist distance from the leg, if not more. And hug the shin in, flex your left foot. And take the variation that you did on the other side. Lift your arms, fold forward, grab the leg, the foot, or reach your hands back. Interlace them behind the back. So think about that folding forward. When we fold forward, the breath naturally puffs up the back body a little more. Squeeze your right knee in, fold forward. And slowly come upright, release. Scoot yourself forward, so legs straight. Scoot yourself forward so you're more in the front of your mat. And roll onto your back and go hands free so that you can roll down nice and slow. Hug your knees in towards your chest. Give yourself a hug here. And lift your head and shoulders and hug yourself in and take your deepest breaths here. So when we're making restriction on the belly, the thighs are pushing into the stomach. The breath is going to puff out the sides of the body and the back. So take 3 deep breaths here. Your deepest breaths. And release into butterfly on your back. So you can take feet together, knees apart, flat on your back, or you can also use the bolster or pillows that you have so you can place your hips right up against it. And feet together, knees apart, and gently lay yourself back onto the bolster or pillow or rolled up blanket. And then let your arms be really heavy out to the side. Make sure this feels okay on your low back. Feel this little bit of lift throughout the trunk of your body, middle back, upper back. And with that lift in the torso, don't forget to let your arms relax. Don't add on the lift in the arms. Let the arms be heavy. Let the neck feel long, the back of the head resting. And breathe here without control. Observe the breath coming in and out of the nostrils with your mind's eye, but don't try to breathe extremely deeply or forcing the breath out. Let the breath be natural.